Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 26th of February 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the S&P 500. Now looking at this index, yesterday it closed slightly in the positive territory, but still kind of still it's very tricky right now because it is kind of continues to travel higher. It is trading well. We could try to draw some upside support lines here, but to be honest, they're going to be a little bit tentative, let's put it that way. So in a way, for now, we can confirm that yes, it is continues to trade and continues to create higher higher highs and creates higher lows. So for now, we're going to be very cautious, even though we're looking at this 4-hour chart. We did see a bit of a slide here lower, and we saw the index closing below the psychological 2,800 level. So looking at the cash index right now, we can see that we will probably see a bit of a drop here, and we had a close near the 2,796 level. So currently the cash index is running near the 2,791 level. For now, guys, for now, of course, be very cautious for us, let's say, to start looking at the downside. We would like to see a nice good drop here below the 2,765 level, and only then we will target lower areas, or even actually go towards the 200 EMA here shown on the 4-hour chart as the black line. And of course, for now, guys, it's very, like I said, it's very interesting. Also, if we see this one initially today traveling below this little high that we saw here back on the 20th of February, which was around the 2,790 level. Now, this is where you could start, like I said, potentially start looking at the slightly lower levels. The only thing is, like I said, this is the point where we're going to be a little bit more, let's say, cautiously bearish. But again, for a better confirmation of the downside, we would like to see a nice good drop below the 2,765 level, approximately there, marked by the lows of the 21st of February. And this way, like I said, we could then target the 2,740 or even actually 2,710 levels. But for now, this is where it is. And of course, let's see how this performs today. If this decides to reverse higher and pushes above this level right here near the 2,816 level, marked by the high of the 7th of November and also by the high of the 17th of October. Now this is where it could become more exciting for the bulls, and we could then target higher areas, of course, potentially maybe in the near term running towards the 2,900 level. But for now, guys, it's probably better to be safe than sorry. Let's play it short and simple. On the downside, keep your eyes on the 2,790 level, but for a better confirmation of further declines, keep your eyes on the 2,765, and on the upside is the 2,816 level. Let's see how that performs today around these levels. Jumping into one commodity that I wanted to quickly touch on, and this is WTI. And looking at this chart, of course, overall you can see that it continues to trade above this short-term tentative upside support line taken from the lows of December, and today tried to push higher above this 55.70 level, but kind of failed to do that. And you can see now it's retracing lower. This is, as you probably already understood by the arrow here, we are looking for maybe a bit more downside here, potentially, like I said, testing this upside support line. If it continues to hold, if if it's not violated, then we could see maybe more bulls jumping in again here and potentially driving this one higher. The only thing is that in order to kind of get more comfortable with the upside, well, if we see this one traveling lower and hitting this upside support line, to be honest, in order to kind of consider higher levels, we'll probably wait until this gets back above the 55.70 level and only then target higher areas. And it's just in case, like I said, if this decides to travel a little bit higher but then fails to move higher and then it reverses and drops lower below this upside support line. Now this is, like I said, this could be that bearish scenario. And that's why in order to kind of get comfortable with the upside, we would like to see a nice good push back above the 55.70 level, and only then we will target higher areas. On the downside, as you probably can see now from the arrow here that I've got drawn, now we need to see initially, of course, a break below this, a break of this upside support line and a drop below the 54.20 level, and you can see that how nicely played back here on the 15th of February as a nice area of support, and also played the key role of being a nice area of resistance back on the 7th of February. So that's why, guys, the 54.20 level is going to be the one that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. That's why, like I said, the drop below this could potentially open the path towards the 53 level, or even actually lower, going towards this other key area of support here, which marks the lows of the 28th of January and the 11th of February. So this area around the 51.31 area, something like that. So keep your eyes on that one. For now, of course, we could see a bit of a slide here lower. You could, from the very short-term perspective, what you could do here is, of course, keep an eye on this little low that we saw here today, and that was approximately around the 55 zone. So a drop below the 55 level could, like I said, send this commodity towards a retest of this upside support line. Jumping into Ethereum. Now, looking at this one, we've posted this yesterday, and basically what we're saying here is that in order to consider further declines, we need to see a nice good drop below the 131 level, and only then we'll target lower areas initially, of course, around the 125. But if that fails to withhold, then further slide towards the 115 area approximately there could be that nice good potential area of support here for Ethereum. But again, before we can assume all this, or before we can assume this scenario, we need to see a nice good drop below the yesterday's, or should I say, the lows of the 24th, and that's around the 131 level. So this way we could then target lower levels. But for now, guys, until we're kind of trading here, this is our little neutral territory. For now, we're just going to continue observing this. In terms of the upside, if this suddenly decides to drive back above this short-term tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 8th of February, now of course this is where it could become interesting for the bulls. We could see this one maybe traveling further up here, but what we're going to look at now is, of course, the 150 level approximately there. This is the area between the 148 and 150. That's what we're going to be looking at. A nice good push above that area could potentially open the path towards these recent highs that we saw here, Ethereum hitting last week, and of course it could travel towards the 160 or even 165 here. But for now, guys, be very cautious with this one. We are still trading below this tentative upside support line, and today we're still trading above this pivot, below today's pivot. So that's why, guys, it's a bit tricky in terms of the upside. For now, we need to see some good confirmation breaks before we can assume higher levels. One, of course, the move above the 141 level could be could put us into that position. We could start looking at slightly higher levels, but for better confirmation of the upside is the 150 area that we're keeping a close eye on. And in terms of the downside, like I said, the 131 level, a break below that could potentially lead this one back down towards the levels that were seen in the first half of February. Jumping into GBPUSD now, this is a bit of a roller coaster today, and certainly the British Prime Minister delivered her statement, and you can see the reaction here. So initially, GBPUSD was traveling higher, managed to break some key areas of resistance, especially like these here around the 132 and the 132.20. I was talking about this pair in one of my earlier videos, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on these levels. So now you can see that we've managed to form here on the 4-hour chart a potential reversal signal. Some would say maybe a shooting star. So for now, of course, what we're going to look at here is the this level right here at around 131.60. A nice good drop below this could potentially send this pair a little bit lower, but for better confirmation, what we're looking for is in terms of the downside, in terms of the near term, we would like to see a nice good drop below the 130.90 level, and only then we'll target lower areas. Now, what we could do here is, of course, we could draw this little short-term tentative upside support line just for our own sake. This is a bit of a tentative one, so don't probably rely on it too much. So that's why, guys, for now, keep an eye on these key resistance and support areas. So like I said, the first one is the 131.60 level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. If that fails to withhold, then yep, further declines could be possible. I'm not saying that it could travel all the way towards the 130.90 today, but maybe something for tomorrow if, like I said, if this drops below the 131.60 level. In terms of the upside, well, if this decides to travel back above the 132 level, of course, keep your eyes on the 132.20 and on the today's highs, which is near the 132.38 zone, approximately there. So basically now, in terms of the upside, we would like to see a nice good push back above the 132 level, and then of course we'll consider these slightly higher levels, but for a better confirmation of the upside in the near term, we would like to see a nice good push above the 132.20 level, and only then we will target slightly higher areas. And the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on for this this session, and that's USDJPY. Now looking at this here, and you can see that today traveled lower. It managed to it continues to trade below the pivot, today's pivot, of course, and but found some good support near the S1 level, which is around the 110.65 area, or maybe just 67 approximately there. So from which it kind of now rebounds back to the upside. So for now, guys, of course, it's a bit of a difficult one, given that yes, it is still trading above this upside support line taken from the lows of the 3rd of January, but in order to let's say consider a further slide here right now, given or should I say, looking at the picture that we're seeing right now here, in order to consider further declines, we would like to see a drop below the 110.55 level, and only then we will probably target this upside support line again and see how it performs around there. Maybe it will rebound again and push higher, or actually this time we will decide to break it and push lower. But for now, of course, let's not over speculate here too much. For now, in terms of the downside, we're looking for a 110.55 break here. In terms of the upside, well, ideally, of course, it would be great to see this one pushing back above the 110.90 level, but the only thing is, you can see that we did have that yesterday where the pair managed to drive even above the 111.13 level, so managing to reach the 111.20. So now what we're going to do here is, of course, we're going to keep an eye on this little high around the 111.20. A nice good push above that could send this pair a little bit higher, of course, create this higher high, and this is where we will aim for the 111.45 zone. But for now, it's trading for today. It's trading still below the pivot. It's still looking somewhat more bearish than bullish, but for better confirmation of the downside in the or should I say in the closer term, we would like to see a drop below the 110.55, and then we will target slightly lower areas, or even this upside support line. So that's why, guys, for now, be very cautious and keep your eyes on some of these key levels. On the upside, you could in a way start looking at the upside by monitoring this 110.90, and on the downside the 110.55 level. So keep your eyes on those. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful. thank you very much for watching and listening. And if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, and that's 7 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.